What's a C major chord? I've been told it's this. In fact, I'm pretty sure this is what I was told on my first guitar lesson. Probably you too. But is this really a C major chord? It is. But the information about this C major chord is incomplete when we say this is a C major chord. Check this out. This is just the guitar's representation of a C major chord. Here's what I mean. Think about if music is a concept, as an art form, just disappeared, just suddenly stopped existing. What would we have? We'd have just a pile of wood and wires. But what if the guitar stops existing, just suddenly disappeared off the face of the planet? But we still had music. Music would be able to still be expressed through every other instrument, through the human voice, through the human intellect. So really what you and I are interested in is expressing musical ideas and not so much as expressing guitar ideas. You see what I'm saying? The ideas exist independently, and we're interested in music. But how do most guitarists approach the instrument? By trying to learn and express guitar ideas. And what this looks like is they say, this is a C major chord. And so that's all they know. And so they think they have to learn more shapes. Say, oh, this is a C major chord. Or they learn the fifth string roots, and this is a C major chord. Or they learn the cage system, and they say, this is a C major chord. And on and on and on. So what they're doing is trying to absorb shapes. You ever been there? That's how I spend the majority of my musical career, is trying to absorb and figure out this guitar and all of its shapes and all of its mysteries, and it's just overwhelming. But when I took a step back and I thought, what do I really want? I've chosen the guitar as my vehicle for communicating musical ideas. So the logic goes, if I better comprehend and understand musical ideas, then I will have a better vantage point to work from. Because then when I approach the guitar, all I have to learn is how it's physically constructed. Because how it's physically constructed lends itself to tendencies for musical expression. Look at how the piano is constructed. It's laid out all in one line. So you can only move left and right, just like on one string of the guitar, just left and right. But the guitar is like 6 mini pianos, because you can move left and right and up and down. So the mere physical construction of the guitar and the piano are different, and therefore they lend themselves to different fingering possibilities and conveniences and nuances and idiosyncrasies that give each instrument its own personality. You know what I'm saying? But it all stems from musical ideas. So what really is a C major chord? Is this it? Yeah, it's the guitar's representation of a C major chord. You see, if this were the C major chord, it would be impossible to play a C major chord on a piano, because a piano isn't constructed this way. Piano doesn't have its strings lined up like this. But we know that we can play a C major chord on a piano. We can play a C major chord on a harp. We can outline a C major chord on a trumpet or any other monophonic instrument. So this is not the C major chord in its entirety. What really is it? Well, this is where we get to musical ideas. If we start on C, the notes C, E, and G are in the chord of a C major. And theory or music ideas tells us this is so. So if we look at anywhere on the fretboard that we can play the notes C, E, and G together, that is a C major chord. At least the representation on the guitar. So if you look here, strings 6, 5, and 4, we can play it like this. Play it like this. We can play it like this. Now strings 5, 4, 3, we can play it like this. Play like this. Or like this. All the way up. Okay, strings 4, 3, and 2. You can play it like this. This is C major. That's C major. That's C major. That's C major. Now strings 1, 2, and 3. That's C, C, C. So these are all representations of the musical idea of a C major chord. Now let's look at scales. You'll see people just like, I need to learn more scale patterns. I need to learn more scale shapes. They'll tell you, this right here is the C major shape. That's a major scale, 1 octave. It is, but it's only one representation. That's not the end-all, be-all. The major scale is made up of scale degrees 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. So if you turn to theory and look at theory, theory is just how we've organized the ideas around music. It's how we think about music, how we take sound and organize sound in time. And we have codified what works and the tendencies that tend to sound good or sound bad or dissonant. I don't know if they're really bad sounds or good sounds. It's just we've codified what we think works and what doesn't work and why it works. So theory is ever expanding. It's just the current body of knowledge depending on what you're trying to accomplish with music. Every different style has its own emphases within theory. Classical music will emphasize different aspects of theory than jazz, than pop, than rock and metal and blues. But don't be fooled, my friend. Theory exists in blues. You know, theory exists in everything. It's not totally academic. It's just the way we think about music. That's really what it is. How we articulate our thoughts and how we think. So knowing theory is knowing the thoughts of the masters. It really is. So don't leave it to the academics and the PhDs. It's extremely practical. So for our purposes right now, here's how it's practical. This is a C major shape. Yeah, one representation of it. What if we started up here and we played it like this? We know, because the major scale is scale degrees 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, we know it's going to be all natural notes. So we could go into theory in another lesson to know how we derive that, but take my word for it if you don't know. C, you can play it like this. C. There's a major scale 1 octave. Is that a valid representation of a C major scale? It absolutely is. Is it practical? Maybe not. But when you know theory, you'll realize that this is a C major scale, but it's also a valid representation on the guitar of a D Dorian scale. Same notes. But it's also an E Phrygian scale. It's also F Lydian. And on and on and on. So this represents a whole lot more than just a major scale. So all this to say, my tendency is to think about moving, breaking out of the open position and moving across the fretboard is to approach it from the perspective of theory, because it's such a higher perspective and you can look down. Standing on the mountain looking down at the valley instead of looking at the bottom of the mountain and trying to look up and comprehend what's going on. It's just way too overwhelming. The terrain is way too rugged. It's rough when you try to just memorize physical shapes. But when you have a premise and a principle and concepts to work from, the shapes can naturally grow out of that. See, the shapes are just trying to express the musical idea. I know I'm saying this 30 times, but really, really grasp this. When you know what a C major chord actually is and how it's derived and how it's constructed, you can be anywhere on the neck and figure it out. And it doesn't have to be so hard as, oh, I have one shape for a 6th string root, I have one shape for 5th string root. You know how long it took me to learn those? It took me a year to learn those. And so now trying to learn fourth string root and third string root. It just seems incomprehensible at times and overwhelming. So let's dive into theory principles, to start. I don't mean right now, but I mean just as an approach. It makes stepping out of first an open position approachable, manageable, and even fun and exciting. So basically, here's what you have to know. Basic musical principles. I recommend you learn one basic principle, like what a major scale is and what a major chord is, things like that. And then look at how the guitar is constructed. So you learn the music principle, you learn the musical alphabet. How is that represented on the guitar? Well, the guitar is constructed with E starting here, so then you know the musical alphabet's how that's gonna lay out on this string, and then A, how the musical alphabet lays itself out here. Because the musical alphabet is consistent, how the guitar is laid out is what changes. How the piano is laid out is what changes. Or a trumpet or a flute or any instrument, that's what changes. That's what makes music so fun, is that you have the universal constant principle of music and then the ever-changing environment of the instrument. And that's exciting. So when you learn the musical principles, you can sit down on a piano and someone could just show you how it's laid out, and then you can start constructing chords. Someone could show you a harp, show you how the harp is tuned, which strings are tuned to what, and then since you know music, you can say, oh, an F major chord, F A C, wherever that's at, you can play F major, and you can start plunking out chord progressions. You see? So I'm getting carried away because I get so excited about this stuff. This stuff is just like, I just want to geek out all day about this. So the physical construction of the guitar. You learn the musical alphabet, the musical principle, and then you learn how the guitar is constructed, and then what you start doing is seeing relationships on strings. That's how I was able to do all the C major chords. And then you learn what a pentatonic scale is. And you say, okay, it's a 5-note. Major pentatonic scale has 5 notes, but guess what? It contains the same notes, 3 of the same notes that are in a major chord. So if you learn the other 2, which is just the 2 and the 6, then you could take any of these chord shapes, like this C major that you just learned, and then all you have to do is find out, using your understanding of the musical alphabet, where the second scale degree and the 6th is. For example, and then now you see the major pentatonic scale built around this chord shape. So this chord shape now becomes an anchor, anchors to the fretboard. But where's the next chord shape? Right here. So you see, you start seeing shapes like this and how they relate to other musical principles. See a major chord, then you see a pentatonic, and then you learn diatonic scales. You say, oh, a diatonic scale is just a 7-tone scale. Well, I know pentatonic, which is 5 tones. Now I'm just adding 2 more notes to a pentatonic, which I know is based around a triad, which only has 3 notes, which I know is based around 1 note, which is my root. You see, they start layering on top of each other. So now you start seeing everything. So now you can create a major scale anywhere, just like I did, starting up here and then moving all the way back here, as opposed to just... So now you're starting to express musical ideas instead of shapes, which are guitar ideas. Both are necessary. My argument is the starting point. Yes, we want to learn guitar, and so as a beginner, it's a great place to start here. Just do this. Press down these, just like that. Now you can play. Now, you can start strumming away. And you're playing music, you're making music. That's great. But now as you want to explore and you really want to get serious about this instrument, it's more than just pressing buttons. You got to know what you're doing and why. It really helps. Change the vantage point from the musical idea down to the guitar, because it's like a hierarchy. I don't know what it is, but I've never learned any other instruments as seriously as I've learned the guitar. But it seems in the guitar community, there's a tendency to fight for limitation. There's a tendency to hold on to ignorance, just like cling to it like it's so comfortable. And don't do that. It's like, I don't know how you could ever expect to grow really while clinging on to ignorance. And what I mean is, people will say like, so-and-so didn't know theory, but why is so-and-so the arbiter of musical success? Don't you want to express musical ideas? Then it would make sense to work with the highest level, the highest quality musical ideas to express those. Anyway, I was going to say something really profound and meaningful, and I forgot what it was. So it probably wasn't that profound and meaningful after all. Oh, here it is. It seems like in the guitar community, we've made the guitar the master and the music the slave, which it's really the other way around. Music is the master. That's what we're really after, and the guitar is just a humble servant at the feet of music. And when we respect that, we let go of the ego and we realize like, hey, the guitar isn't really what we're after. It's music. We want music. The guitar is a vehicle for music. Okay, let music drive. Don't let the guitar drive. Cool. Let me know what you think. If this is just one big old rambled mess, or if you actually got something out of this. We'll get more into like the real like tools and techniques and practical aspects of theory, but I think this fundamental place to start is the most practical, at least to get you going. It will get you out of open position and get you to really think, critical thinking. You won't be sorry for thinking about your craft. Okay, talk soon. Thanks for watching. Thanks for all the comments, and even if you don't comment and you're just watching, I appreciate you. Have you ever noticed how hard it can be to create in a vacuum when you're so excited about your craft and developing your skills, and you feel like you're alone? Seems like the human condition is to want to share and want to express and connect with other people through craft and through shared ideas, and you're giving me the opportunity to, and I really appreciate it. I'm no longer in a vacuum. I'm no longer just a bedroom guitar player thanks to you. I'm an artist now. I have you. So thank you. I really appreciate it. We'll talk soon. Bye.